Good day, good evening here in Tenerife. We continue with our series of classes on the 8 movements and the respiration, the breathing. Today, I want to focus a little bit on this aspect. Of course, I've been already explaining from every point of view how central is the aspect of breathing, especially coordinating the breathing with the movement, opening the breathing, helping the breathing to be fluid, to be smooth, to really being open, so expanding and a very thorough inspiration, using very well all our beautiful lungs. That sometimes due to different kind of tension and inappropriate habit of breathing, then we don't really breathe the way we are supposed to, in a healthy way. And so, if you do that, then our well-being cannot be as could be, and especially in this period where we have these problems that actually are targeting the lungs. Even more, it's very important to try to keep our lungs functioning at the best and healthy. And also, there are methods that are applied even with people already have problem caused by this situation we have. I'm not saying that I am prescribing anything, obviously, but having been teaching about breathing and try to help people experience and possibly having a base of a breath that is more fluid and open and complete and starting from below, that is the more healthy way to breathe. So I simply keep doing what I've been doing. I'm simply giving some general indication and some possibly simple exercise to help in doing this. A big part of what I'm teaching about the breathing is what is called, also in the book that I wrote that is going around, that I call the dorsal breathing. Not because we live with the dorsal, we breathe, with the dorsal, but because you feel a dorsal expansion. And why generally there is a kind of consensus in identifying different phases of the breath. The abdominal phase, the intercostal phase, the chest phase, I already said. Sometimes, generally, this is the three basic: abdominal, intercostal, and chest. Sometimes you find also the upper chest, and rarely also the dorsal breathing. But in reality, in the way I teach about the breathing, the dorsal breathing is fundamental. Because one way is when we feel the expansion in front. And many times, if you have really to observe what is our experience and our perception of the breathing, somehow we perceive the breathing as being a little in front, kind of superficial, almost bidimensional, because we mostly feel something moving here in the front of our body. But the breathing, especially when it's full, should be 360 degrees, 3-dimension. It's like a sphere. The expansion is like 3-dimensionally expanding. And when we do that, when we have this experience, we feel the expansion of the dorsal. That's why it's called dorsal breathing, because what we feel is the dorsal expanding. And in the dorsal breathing, you have all the phases that you experiment in front, you have it in the back. So you have a lower dorsal breathing, a medium dorsal breathing, a higher dorsal breathing, a very high dorsal breathing. In reality, through exercises that lead you to this expansion of the back, the dorsal, you have a very good possibility to open up your breath in a very, very healthy way. So now, this with the body. I mean, position that influence the body. But also, if you let the breathing with the possibility of expanding to the sides, letting the diaphragm really do well its job, then we have a dorsal expansion. It's just happening. So a very full, healthy breath should have this aspect. And if you are in a sitting position and we experience this more spherical expansion of the breath, as we have done in the beginning, a little experience of that, what also you can experience, first of all, is the easiness of the expansion of the breath, but also how the body gets aligned, how the spine, with less effort, you can feel more centered and you feel aligned. Alignment is very important in general. Alignment means that you find the right balance between things. And in yoga, very often is taught, some system of yoga, they are focusing mostly on alignment, but not just the alignment of the body. That is an important thing, but the alignment of the body, of the breathing, and through the breathing, our energy and the mind, that is the real alignment. When our body, energy, and mind are aligned, so they are in synergy, and instead of one somehow getting in the way of the other, their own position that blocks the breath, and the mind that is that agitated, create a tension, that and that and that and that, this chain reaction. Just reverting that in a virtuous interdependence. We coordinate the body, the breathing, and then the mind coordinate, and then the breathing and the body remain more coordinated without tension, and then everything find its own dimension. That is really alignment. And when we are in this alignment, we can also be present. That is finally what is really important. So now we are gonna see, we step a little away today from continuing, at least for the moment, to look at the last of the 8 movements. And I want to focus on some exercises, especially that are centered on the dorsal expansion of the breath, both using the position of the body and also how we can guide our presence through touch, for example. But before, because still, even if they are simple, we have to do some position, some movement. Then, as usual, we do a little bit of warm-ups, just to prepare the body. But before that, I want to read you something, because now there is several suggestions of system of breathing, how to do it, with different characteristics. One that is really, really common, actually two that are really common, and we already did, I think the second day I dedicated to that. One that is advised also is the alternate nostril breathing, and we do it. And the other are different systems with different proportions that I'm not able to understand personally, because I don't know in detail these systems, why there is a certain proportion, like sometimes the proportion is inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and then you go to 6, and sometimes go to 8 in the same way, without specifying the way you hold. Simply inhale for sometimes for 5, hold for 5, exhale for 5. Sometimes other systems also introduce the empty hold, remaining empty after exhaling. So for example, it could be inhale for 6, hold for 6, exhale for 6, remain empty for 6. Some is called box breathing, some is of different names, but very often the proportion is like this. Sometimes this doctor in the United States, and it became kind of famous also because his system is supposed to help people to overcome insomnia. He's proposing a system is the 4 inhale, 7 hold, and 8 exhale. Another doctor that I took an extract from his article and system advocate to inhale for 5 and hold for 5. For example, but the proportion are different, but the principle is the same. You kind of give a proportion to the breath. And tendentially, in most of this system, the exhalation is longer than inhalation. In many, not in all. Actually, maybe the more common are even proportions. But in general, it's considered that having a long exhalation, a little longer inhalation, so that you are sure you exhale very thoroughly, like what we are supposed to do in the 9 breathings that purify the prana. This is considered in general a very healthy way of breathing. Also in yoga, just to quote the name used in Sanskrit, Rechaka is considered a very important aspect of the practice related when we are talking about the breathing. Because then the way you exhale determines many things, and of course, the way then you inhale after that. And so is a chain reaction. But because of the fact of the impure breath and all this kind of aspect, exhaling very thoroughly also influence then a more open, a kind of more complete breath. And here we come to the aspect of the empty hold. The empty hold, for example, in the rhythmic breathing of Yantra that we did that day already, the exhalation is actually in 2 phases. The actual active exhaling, I sometimes call it, and empty hold. Sometimes it looks to me like a kind of passive exhalation, but doesn't matter. The starting of the rhythmic breathing is inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 4, divided, inhale, exhaling, and empty. But when the rhythm goes up, the final proportion of that rhythm that starts with the inhalation of 4, there the proportion is that the exhalation plus empty hold is double of the inhalation. So there is this principle intrinsic also in the system of the Yantra. That's why I'm saying that normally, unless you want to train for specific things, and then you should get specific also instructions, but get to inhaling 4, holding 6, and exhaling 6, or sometimes inhaling 6 and exhaling 8, or sometimes holding 4, holding 8, exhaling 8, I think that more than enough to train very well, really, is more than enough. But the aspect of the empty hold is also interesting, and we see in the 9 breathings, because after you remain empty, if you don't force it too much, you don't need a very much control, but then after the empty hold, you more naturally are led to breathe from below. You notice, if you didn't notice before, even in normal breathing, exhaling, remain a little bit empty, and then inhale, is more easy that you start from below. Also because when you notice, are kind of aware of your empty hold, you feel it down. Generally, you don't really feel the empty hold very much here, but generally you feel it down. And so, again, your presence is led to focus almost without knowing. It seems a strange thing. The conscious, unconscious, conscious, but a kind of background presence, and then can lead you also to the mechanic, and plus the presence can lead you to more easily start breathing from below. And this is that the vast majority of the system is considered the best, more natural and more healthy way of breathing. So now I will read, and then we do some exercises. A breathing technique, not necessarily a particular one, there are different breathing techniques that might be useful, is the only way to get oxygen deep into the lung, which is important to avoid deterioration. While you have an active infection, you need to be getting a good amount of air into the basis of your lungs. The only way you are going to do that is by having a technique. For example, when we try in the rhythmic breathing and in the 9 breathing to really exhale very, very thoroughly, very deeply, what happens that the base of the lungs is also relative to the stale air and so on and all these kind of things. And then, of course, you can have a deeper inhalation. The majority of your lungs is in your back, not on the front. By lying on your back, you are closing off more of the smaller airways, and this is not good during a period of infection. It can lead to atelectasis. This can then lead to a secondary pneumonia. It is very important that you guys understand this. This doctor is called Dr. Munshi. Highlighted the importance of laying on your front because there is more surface area in the lungs at the back. The most important thing to understand is that laying in bed for prolonged periods on your back is going to close off the small airways. Doctor, and after having done something to open up your breath, the doctor advises you to lay flat on their front with a pillow to support them and to take deeper breath for the next 10 minutes. So you see, here there are, I'm just reading this because the period we are, and is not giving, I said, any prescription or advocating you do this or not, but it's not that, but there are some very important things to understand. The importance of really having a thoroughly three-dimensional expansion of the breath that involves the back. And the importance of long, deep breathing. Long, deep breathing doesn't mean forceful breathing. It means that you can relax the breath. And if you can root the breath from below, it can happen more easily. And then the breath can be long and smooth. These are 3 things, 2, 3, very important. The breathing should be 360 degrees, should be long and should be smooth. This is called the fluid breathing of Yantra Yoga. Really, that is the characteristic. Long and direct, and starting from below. Because if you're not starting from below, cannot be long. Maybe it can be direct, but it cannot be a long breath. Cannot. A long breath has to start in the abdomen. We call it abdominal, we call it abdominal diaphragmatic thoracic. There can be many definitions, but the point is to start from below. This should be clear. Okay, now we do some little exercises. We are going around different kind of simple exercises that are all focused on this aspect. Some of them we already did, but we do it again. So the first one, after we do a little warm up, that is always better because the knees, we have to take care of them. I think I don't need to say anything, only don't block the breathing, let it move smoothly. There is a little lack of air inside here. Okay, now a little bit of this. Okay, again. We put gently our foot back and we let stretch a little bit the thigh. And you take advantage of nothing to move to focus a little bit on the breath. So look like in this last period, the world has woken up to the importance of breathing. It's already sometimes, because for a long period, because it's something we just do it. It's part of the life, so we never pay much attention to it. And it's really a pity, because it's really something so precious we have. And we are just, most of the time, not taking advantage of it in the right way. Then the other side. Okay. So the first exercise we do is this, kneeling. As already said, if somebody has some problem, they can put something under the top of the foot and can release any maybe tension or pain. Or you can sit on something if also that creates some problem. And sometimes you can sit in between. So you put in between your feet a pillow or a blanket or something, and then for many people that relieves the pain, or and then they can practice easily. Is good. Or there is always the chair. So the elbow in front of the knees. One thing before we do that. Try to see how your neck is turning without pushing. You just go until it's easy, and when try to feel resistance, you stay. When you're resistant, you stay. But try to remember more or less how was the condition of your neck. Okay, now we do this exercise. If having the head too much sort of perpendicular is a little problem, then you tilt a little bit also the hands and becomes more easy. Now and then take a deeper breath, but not forceful. Also, here you see you have the abdomen compressed against the thigh. Not too much, but is. So already, let's say, spontaneously, you tend to breathe a little more. And always from the nostrils. Now and then, intentionally, you take a deeper breath. And then you feel the expansion of the lower back, especially, mostly. Now, you cross your arms like the first movement of the 8, but remain like this, suspended halfway. It's not uncomfortable, and breathe. Now, especially when you take a deeper breath, you might feel that also you feel in the middle part of the body, the dorsal expanding. It's still rooted below, but you feel a very nice expansion in the midsection. Remember, it doesn't come spontaneously, then now and then you decide to take a deeper breath. And sometimes, if you still feel a little block for some reason, sometimes you can remain a moment in empty hold. And then inhale. And you see that you expand much more with your inhale. Okay, now move the cross arm a little more in front and put the forehead on it. When you take then a deeper breath, now you see coming to the shoulders, to the shoulder blade, to the clavicula. But it's still rooted below. Only that proportionally you feel less the expansion from below and start feeling more the expansion going up, but still the root is below. Now and then, if it's not coming, a deeper breath. Okay. Now we come back. Observe your breath. If it is long, if it is easy, if it is fluid. How you feel your spine. How you feel your head. Generally, it should be a pleasant experience of easiness. And now try to turn your neck. You see? Even the tension in different muscles that lead to tension also in the neck because it's the consequence of other things is for a quite a nice part is gone. Through deep breathing, deep relaxed breathing, we also relax the muscles, tension in the muscles. So we become more flexible. More flexibility, it means more easiness it means. So there is a nice synergy that is developing. This is one. Already you see how nice the effect can be. And this can also be done on the chair. I might have shown it already, but I show it again. So, okay, put in the center. I didn't want to change the. Okay, I don't have to change. Okay, so in this chair, for example, we can use the leg to hook the feet so they stay nice and parallel. Otherwise, you try to do it yourself. And maybe we can come a little bit in front on the chair. And the first, we place the elbow just before the knee. Shouldn't be painful. So this is the first part of the exercise. So it's mostly a lower expansion. Then we cross. It's not exactly the same, but it's very, very similar. So you feel it more in the midsection. And then 2 hands here. This, then come up slowly, because now, especially if you do it here in the chair, the head is really quite low, and so things change. And then if you come up too quickly, you might feel a little bit your head. So you come up slowly. and observe nicely. This position also that we just did, especially if you take some deeper breath, don't force too much in this position. Don't force too much. Just breathe a little deeper, but not as really super big. And you can feel is already helping stretching the spine. It's releasing all the tension in the spine. But if you do it too much, too strongly, maybe something, I'm really super extra cautious, but you can have a little bit sensation. You can maybe feel something if you have some problem in lower back, a little bit, you get slightly worried. Not to be worried too much. Just the basic suggestion, never force. In this case, still try to take some nice in breath, but especially in the last position, don't push it. Okay? This is one. Now we go on the floor. Very easy. We go on the floor. We put our head on the floor. Keeping it a little above ground, so you put your hands like this or like this, the way you find it useful, that is not creating some kind of problem in the sensation of your neck. So that just let space for the nose to breathe. And keep the heels together. Now, when we do these classes, because I'm showing you several exercises, sometimes we might be doing too much. As I already told you, even this kind of breathing, if you go to our top capacity too long, it also can create some kind of condition in our breathing. So it's not advisable. We do, for example, 10 times, something like this, then we relax and we do something else. But also depends the condition, age, and many other things. But in general, stay also not forcing in the quantity. But when we do these kind of classes, I have to somehow repeat so that people can see as it is and learn and maybe do it together. But if you do a little too much once in a while, it's not such a super problem. But if you do your own thing, sometimes take it easy. So inhale. And again, when you take a deeper breath, you feel mostly an expansion on the abdomen, on the lower back. If you keep the hips together, otherwise it doesn't work. If you let go the heels and open, then comes up. It's still a nice expansion of the chest and also on the back. But if you want to focus on the abdominal breathing, we have to keep the hips together. Then open a little bit, maybe 1 meter. And breathe. And you see that now you feel more an expansion on the midsection. But what is good, because it's always originated in the below and is moving and expanding the dorsal, what you feel is also an expansion of the sides. So the breathing is not only coming up vertically, but is also opening to the sides. That is what we want. Now there is some system that define as vertical breathing versus horizontal breathing, and the horizontal breathing is considered to be the more natural. I have been using a different kind of image since sometimes, and is the arrow, where the breath comes in both directions through the side of the arrow and the central shaft of the arrow at the same time. But the central rising of the breath, coming up of the breath, should be balanced to a side opening. Then what should happen nicely happens. And then you open much more. And you see that it's coming up. That is, I'm asking you to do a deeper breath now and then, is mostly to see more precisely what is happening, to magnify the effect of the inhalation. And sometimes also helps opening more. But you can also breathe just not doing that, just naturally, not so deep. In that case, you can also remain longer. A smooth, not so big breathing, but relaxed. It's probably anyway kind of longer than usual. If you let it become very subtle, you can concentrate a little bit more on the exhalation. Let it be a little longer. So then come up. Now come up like this. The hands you put together, which way you like, and lift your back. Just try to keep the arm parallel, not to bend, not to sink in, just to keep nicely control. And then again, you see you will breathe in the abdomen. Now I'm doing a full sequence, but You can also do just what we did in the beginning. Also, only the first part, what we did in the beginning, depending. You see what time you have, what you like, how you are feeling when you do it. Don't exaggerate, don't force, don't do it just half an hour before going to bed. So here again, we focus on the lower breath. And then you go back like 1 meter. And voila, we are in the middle. Still, you feel also the expansion of the side and the expansion of the back. Even if you don't breathe too much, you just feel this opening. And then bring the feet together and now come up. You feel it up. You see, we change the position a little, not so dramatically, but the influence how you feel the expansion of the breath is significant. Now we are here back, and we feel it expanding up to the shoulders. And then you cross the arms and remain midway. And again is going in the midsection. The feet are together now. And then go down, forehead there. And now you're back in the abdomen. Now, put the forehead on the ground, hands at the side of the chest, coming up, sitting, and look at your breath. So you can see that your breath is much slow. And probably you feel like the exhalation wants to be a little longer. And maybe not even start immediately to inhale, but there is a kind of tendency of a little pause. And then come up again. Even when the size of our breath subsides and becomes more, the tidal wave of the breath is called the normal way of our breath. But if some of this quality remains, then we really can have some lasting benefit from breathing in that way. More naturally, less conditioned. Okay, that is the little sequence of and other exercises extremely simple. Now we do another one that you already did, but this one also is very simple and is also good for the back and is also good for opening the dorsal breathing. Also in this one we did, you see, of course, sometimes there is a forward expansion, but you see always the breathing and the sides are opening. The back is opening. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but it's always there, this expansion. Now we do another one, that is this one. Maybe we do inhaling and exhaling a couple of times. And probably after having done this breathing, you'll discover, but now it's so easy. It's very easy. Doesn't feel like you have to do much effort. It's possible that happens like this. Now you bring toward the chest your legs and roll to one side completely. Then open up the arm or keep it close to the chest. And breathe. You see, there is an expansion of the upper abdomen that goes to the sides and back. Then you leave your hands, arm down. And now you feel mostly on the back. You don't stay long because I'm mostly showing you. And then move up. And again, you feel the side expansion from the front and from the back. It's not that you should do all of this. I'm showing it so that you have a choice. Because also somehow they all open very nicely the breath, really. They make your lungs really happy. They think, oh, finally we can do our job. But also they have some slightly different flavor. So I show you several that can help you or having this effect, and then you can choose what you like better. Now the other side. This one also I already told you is very good also for the back.
But you have to stay up with the knees, because if you go down, changes. It goes a little too much downward, the expansion of the abdomen. That is not exactly what you want to do. We remain a little bit. Sometimes it's also enough 3, 4, 5 breathings, and already can change things. But here is to experience what he's doing. Now let the arms down. Sometimes also if you do only one side, it's already opening, but generally balancing is better. Then up. And you can feel what is happening if you put your hands. The rib cage is really opening nicely. And this also works on the intercostal muscles and the diaphragm. It's really, it works. Now we turn around, we are already here. We move around to sit. Sit back again. And then again, observe the breath. Sometimes I say, rediscover the joy of breathing. Because it's like the body enjoys it. We feel some nice sensations, and the mind is more relaxed and peaceful and clear. Sometimes can happen. It can help really in getting out when you're stuck in certain emotions also. Can also help sometimes. A little breathing, a little opening, and kind of switches our mood, our experience. That was another one. I don't want to keep it too long. Now, this one also is really very much focused on the abdominal phase of the breathing. This one, maybe for some people it is less easy, but we can use some props and make it more palatable. Okay, this should be done like this in reality, being up on your toes, and then hug your body, and because you are on your toes, you are leaning forward, and then really keep tight, and then breathe.
like a guru, the bird. So this, I don't know if you can see it, work in expanding from the back, the lower back. And naturally, for many people, this is not so easy. So we can use some props. For example, a block. And we can do this way. Important is that we are a little forward and not backward. Then we see why. Because now we want to focus on the lower expansion. So like this. And we expand the lower. Now we can actually work all coming up with this exercise. In this case, we step out of the block and we sit, for example, on the block. And then we breathe. Still a little forward. And now comes more in the midsection. But then, if you can, and we sit on the ground, now it's coming up in the shoulders. But the interesting thing is that always from the below is coming up, more and more focus going up, but the root is always below. That's why it's so effective. Okay. So this is another exercise we can use with the same purpose to train and open the breath from the back, from the dorsal. And now we can sit and see how the breath is. And now we see with what I said, directing with touch. We already did it, but we do it again. Now we put our hands. Let's put it here first and breathe. Try to take a little deeper breath because you should feel the air coming up to the chest, otherwise it is not really understandable. Long exhalation. Then maybe remain a moment empty so that we see better when we inhale. So observe well what you're experiencing. You're probably experiencing starting from below, but also is a kind of central, kind of come up mostly. We feel it in the center part of the body. And kind of in the front, we have more this sensation in the front. And now we have done all the exercises before. If you do it fresh, also it's going to be different. But unfortunately, we cannot and go back. But still, now you just put the hands here and see. Try to take a deeper breath a little bit to see it better. Now it's different. I hope, because this exercise generally really works nicely. Now it goes more to the side, to the back. It's still coming in front, but it's more balanced. You see how we can influence just with guiding, with touch, our presence. And now we do this and see what happens. Now somehow we are putting together, and because our presence goes here and goes there, we expand more. If now we do it once again with the hands, exhale, inhale nicely, let it happen. And now keep the hands away. You already don't breathe as much, as deep, as expanded. It's interesting. You see, we have all this interdependence in our body, energy, and mind, and brain. Everything is getting feedback from everything. And it's marvelous. So there is a lot of possibility if we understand and discover how we can use it. Okay. Now, just to finish the session, we do a little bit of the rhythm, the rhythmic breathing. And we do 4-4-4, 4-6-4, 4-6-6 for now. Generally, in my experience, is what people find easier. Actually, generally, what people find easier is 4-4-4 and 4-6-6. But we try also 4-6-4. I will lead a little bit. In the beginning, I will say what we are doing. Then I just say the input and then nothing. So we do maybe 5 times each rhythm. Let's go. In. Hold, relaxed without blocking anything. Out. Empty. in, 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 hold, relax, don't block anything, out, empty, in, hold, out, empty, in, hold, out, empty. Now you do it by yourself without indicating me. Now we exhale in front once. Four, 6, 4. In, 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 in. Hold, 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 hold. Out, out, empty, empty. In, 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 in. Hold open, keep holding, relax. This 4, 5, 6. Exhale, empty. In, hold, exhale, empty. In, hold, out, empty. By yourself. Change your in front. Now 4, 6, 6. Exhale. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out, 2, 3. Empty, 5, 6. In. Hold, relax, open. Exhale, empty. In. Hold, 6 counts without forcing, just suspending. Exhale, 3. Empty, 3. In. Hold. Exhale. Empty. By yourself. Again. And again. Okay. We can exhale in front. And we remain a moment. Okay, thank you very much. For today, we are finished. All the best to everybody.